Hi, this is Melanie for Pardesi Reviews. I'm here to do a film review of the Tamil anthology film on Amazon Prime, Putham Pudhu Kaalai. If you're new to Pardesi Reviews, I do trailer reactions and film reviews of Indian cinema. This is a really interesting anthology of 5 short films. Amazon commissioned this film. It wasn't that these directors had these 5 short films and they cobbled them together. Amazon asked these 5 directors to present a short film, make a short film centered around the 3-week lockdown in March due to COVID-19. So I've always thought about how this pandemic is going to lead to really interesting art and stories about what this common experience that we've all gone through, hardships that it created, unusual situations that are not our normal everyday. And that's what these 5 films are exploring, some of those issues and situations. An exciting list of directors, 2 of them women, which is also super exciting. The 5 directors are Sudha Kangara, Gautam Menon, Suhasini Maniratnam, Rajiv Menon, and Kartik Subaraj. Interesting ensemble cast. The limitations that were put on these directors is that they had to work within COVID guidelines of safety. So that meant, I think some of the filming happened at different times, so it was slightly different because I was listening to at least part of the interview that these 5 directors did with Anupama Chopra and Bharadwaj Rangan on Film Companion. And so they talked about, like Suhasini Maniratnam said she was only allowed 5 people on set. And so she was one of the actresses. So she had to wear 2 hats, both as director and one of the lead actresses. Some of the other people had a limit of 14. They had to, they're filming within houses for the most part. I think, the limits on, you didn't have a whole crew to set up fancy lighting for different shots all the time. So they had to really be creative in how they were making the film. Anupama Chopra seemed to be really worried that Amazon was putting some sort of censoring on them as to what kinds of stories that they could present. And all of them said no, they had complete creative freedom. It's just that the suits did make suggestions, like if there was a mention of a particular brand in the script or something, they were like, well, you might have a legal issue, maybe you want to take that out, or so forth. So, but otherwise it seemed like they had complete creative freedom. I mean, one of the directors said, well, I had 3 different short film ideas and they helped me narrow it down to one that they thought would be optimal for the global audience that Amazon Prime has. And, I think that's a valid point, just saying, here's something that we think would reach the most people. The 5 films all gave me a smile, a warm feeling. They were all that kind of film, which was great, or a smile, especially Kartik Subaraj's gangster kind of comedy at the very end was a very nice punctuation at the end. Some worked better than others. I think they tried to keep them a consistent 20 to 30 minute length. So the entire 5 films together is only, I believe, about 2 hours and 10 minutes. I had some favorites and some that I didn't think were quite as good, but they were all interesting stories. And they're so short that I feel like I can hardly talk about them without giving things away, and you should really experience it for yourself. I will say some of it is about being in lockdown with people that you normally wouldn't be in lockdown with. And so my absolute favorite of the 5 was Gautam Menon's short film. I'm not even going to attempt the Tamil, but Him and Me, Her and Me, played by Ritu Varma, and a granddaughter played by Ritu Varma, and she goes to live with her elderly grandfather, who the family has been estranged from. During this lockdown period, she lives with M.S. Bhaskar as the actor that plays the grandfather. That was my absolute favorite. It had one really funny scene, is that she's trying to work from home and doing these Zoom calls, and the grandfather comes in and there's a supervisor berating an employee, and the grandfather walks up and he's like, he said he's sorry already, let it go. And then I just thought about that has to be something that's going on in a lot of families where where you have the best Wi-Fi may not be alone in your bedroom, but in a central location, and therefore everyone gets to experience your work environment and maybe make some commentary. It was such a heartwarming story because Ritu's character, the granddaughter, thinks she knows what the rift was in the family that caused her to not have a close relationship with her grandfather until these couple of weeks that they spent together. And then she learns his side of the story. Oh, amazing. That one just really hit me emotionally, and I just thought the acting was so great, and it had, like I said, some of those really fun, amusing moments too about life as we live it now with Zoom. The first one was super fun. Ilamai Ido Ido. Oh my gosh. So this one had Jayaram and Urvashi playing people who are old enough to be grandparents, and then Jayaram's son, his real life son, they view themselves as their young selves. So you go back and forth between seeing them as the older people that they really are, and then in their minds they're just so delighted to be being forced to be locked down together that they're like little kids again, like young lovers. Yeah, Kalidas Jayaram plays his father. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've seen him in anything else, but it was delightful. And he was opposite Kalyani Priyadarshi, who was playing Urvashi's role. And that one just gave me a real smile. The third one was one that I thought worked the least well for me. And interestingly, Shruti Hassan plays a part of a daughter who's, kind of separated from her family. And I thought actually she acted very well in this, but the overall story and that one, I'm not going to go in detail anymore, but that one worked less well for me than some of the other ones. That one was called Coffee Anyone. Reunion by Rajiv Menon. Now, I did an extensive conversation about Kunda Kundain. I don't know what made me realize I haven't seen his 2019 film, which I need to rectify right away, but love him as a filmmaker, especially for Kunda Kundain. And this was a really interesting short. I don't want to spoil anything because I was completely surprised of where it went. So this one was called Reunion, and it has Andrea Jeremiah and one of my favorites, Leela Samson, who was in OK Kanmani. Gurucharan plays a doctor named Vikram who thinks he may have been exposed to COVID, and then that leads to a certain people being locked together in quarantine that didn't expect to be. So I really thought that, I don't want to spoil what interesting places that it goes, but it deals with a subject matter that I haven't often seen dealt with in Indian film, especially as relates to women. So really interesting one. Really liked that one very much, and the performances in that one. And then the final one with Kartik Subbaraj directing, pure, unadulterated fun. That one is called Miracle, and it just has all these zany connections and coincidences, and gangsters find something, think they're in on a scam. I'm not even going to spoil anything about it. It was just pure delight from beginning to end, and especially the use of music in that one. Loved it. Loved it. So I highly encourage you to check out this anthology of short films. It's on Amazon Prime, Amazon India Video. Do check it out. It's, like I said, it's only a little over 2 hours, and let me know what you thought about it. If you did have a chance to see it, in the comments below. Follow me on Twitter at PardesiYT. Subscribe here to Pardesi Reviews. And if you hit the bell when you subscribe, you'll never miss another trailer reaction or film review.